Friends, today I will be discussing the topic research methodology, and research methodology is the important component of the paper 1, that is general paper on teaching research and aptitude. So this in this lecture I will be discussing about the fundamental aspects of research methodology. What is research? How research should be conducted? What should be the standard? What are the important characteristics of research? The important debates between positivism and post positivism. Then contribution of Thomas Kuhn, the famous scholar. The famous book is written by Thomas Kuhn, is Structure of Scientific Revolutions. And uh, the whole lecture will be revolving around these themes. So first, let's start. What is research? So research is a process of inquiry and investigation. Research is a systematic and methodical study, and research should increase the knowledge. So this is the fundamental, that what is research? Research is a process of inquiry and investigation. It should be systematic and methodical, and it should increase the knowledge. Next point is research. As you can see, research, the R denotes rational way of thinking, E means expert and exhaustive treatment, S for search and solution, E stands for exactness, A stands for analysis, R relationship of facts, C stands for critical observation, careful planning, constructive attitude, and condensed generalization. And then H stands for honesty and hard work. So this is the research overall. Then what is scientific method? So scientific method is a method in which a problem is identified, relevant data is gathered, a hypothesis is formulated, and which is empirically tested. So what is scientific method? Once again I repeat, scientific method is a method in which a problem is identified, relevant data is gathered, a hypothesis is formulated, and that hypothesis is empirically tested. So what is the research objectives? First, research is to gain familiarity with a new phenomena. Research also promotes the review and synthesize the existing knowledge. It investigates some existing situation or problem. It explore and analyze more general issues. It construct or create a new procedure or system, and it also generate new knowledge. Then what are the characteristics of research? First is objectivity. As we all know, there is objectivity and subjectivity in social sciences studies, but a research should always try to promote certain level of objectivity in his or her research. And the following means can be adopted to ensure objectivity. First is procedural safeguards. Second is standardization. Third is operationalizing of concepts. And the fourth is to avoid any type of biasness. And what is this procedural safeguards? The processes involved in procedural safeguards is to keep complete records of observation and data, to keep complete record of observations and data, analysis in a form that other researchers can understand and evaluate. Then most scientific reports you can see are written in a similar form and published by organization of scientists. These reports communicate ideas to the entire scientific community and open to those ideas to criticism. And then what is this standardization? First one, the procedural safeguards. Second is standardization. These four things are there to maintain, to ensure objectivity. Okay. So what is standardization? Standardization means using uniform, consistent procedures in all phases of data collection. Is that clear? Third one is operationalization of concept. Operationalization of concept means it is basically standardizing the meaning of concepts. An operational definition of a concept defines that concept in terms of how it is measured or what operations produce it. Then fourth one is avoiding biasness. A researcher should always try to avoid any kind of biasness in his or her research. Biasness can come from any external influences, personal belief system, observers' perspectives, and human expectations. If you are biased in any one of these things, your research cannot be very objective. Okay. Then after objectivity, the second thing is reliability. Reliability in the context of research means consistency. Reliability means consistency. Okay. Reliability means consistency, and it refers to the extent to which an investigation produces consistent results. It can also be termed as verifiability. It can also be termed as verifiability, means it can be verified. Data can be verified. Then next thing is validity. Third point is validity. Validity, what is this validity in research? Validity in research mainly stands for accuracy of procedures, research instruments, tests, etc. This is the validity. The concept of validity can also be understood by posing a question: are we measuring or able to measure what we originally intended to measure? That is the important thing. Validity means, in research particularly, accuracy of procedures should be there. Accuracy of procedures and research instruments, tests, etc. Whatever you are using, that should be very accurate. The concept of validity can also be understood by posing a question: are we measuring or able to measure what we originally intended to measure? Okay, so what is the primary aim, or what is your purpose, what you want to measure in your research? That should be very clear. While making study or while collecting data, you are not supposed to divert yourself with the very fundamental questions which you are going to study. Then comes this fourth point, that is the accuracy. Accuracy. Now what is this accuracy? Again, this accuracy is closely related to validity. It is also the degree to which research processes, instruments, and tools are related to each other. Accuracy means, as I told you, it is related to validity. It is the degree to which research processes, instruments, and tools are related to each other. In the whole research, you are not expected to divert yourself, as I told you. Then the next part is, the fifth point is the credibility. What is this credibility? Credibility is the use of best source of information and the best procedures in the research. The use of secondary data saves time and reduces cost. However, the excessive reliance on secondary data when the option of primary data is available entails the risk of reducing the credibility of the research. It means it is fine that you use secondary data for your research, but as far as possible, if it is primary data is available, in that case one should always try to focus on primary data. Because if you take primary data from somewhere, it is more reliable. It will 100% fulfill your aim of the research. Okay, so credibility is very important. Nowadays it is being seen that students, they are getting secondary datas, and on the basis of secondary datas they produce their research. But actually that should not be the case while doing any research. Then the sixth point is the generalization. Sixth point is the generalization. Okay, this generalization is there. Generalization is, again, it is closely related to validity. So you please remember these points the same in the same order which I have put it here. Generalization is closely related to validity. It refers to the degree to which research findings can be applied to a larger population. So some extent your research, your ideas should be available for generalization. How you will ensure that? To ensure that the research is for some extent it is generalized, the sample which you consider, or the sample which you gather should be applicable to the whole population. So sampling is very important here. If your sample design, sample model, or sampling in general, if we say, if your sampling is not covering the whole population of that particular research area, then perhaps you cannot produce the objective output from your research. So generalization should be there, and this generalization can be ensured when your sample design is well arranged, we can say. So now what is the sixth point? That is the empirical research. Empirical research means, as we all know, what is empirical research. So empirical research is based on real life experiences. Okay, वास्तविक जीवन के अनुभवों के आधार पे भी आधारित होना चाहिए, अनुभविक. So it is based on real life experiences, direct experiences or observations by the researcher. So suppose you are going to study in some particular area in your during your research. Lots of literature and so many people have already worked on that particular theme. So on the basis of that, those ideas, on the basis of those research, you, in a way we can say, you personally should try to visit that particular area, and you should ensure whether the ideas, the perceptions which are there in your mind from the very beginning, whether it is true or not. Therefore research should always be based on your empirical or your personal experiences or observation. And it also implies that research is related basically to one or more aspects of a real situation, and it deals with concrete data that provides a basis for external validity to the results of the research. So please try to understand the basic differences and what is the importance of research, because just simply copy paste and you submit your research, that is not okay. Because nowadays all the agencies and government and other institutions, organizations which are research organizations, research, they promote research. There you cannot stand if your research is not original. And in fact, if you produce original research, in that case you will have a better opportunity also. Because most of the countries, particularly if we talk about the developed countries and the reputed institutions in the country, they promote the people who are working on primary data. So please always try to gather as much as possible the primary data, and try to rely yourself on the secondary data. Okay, so come next. The eighth point is the systematic. Systematic means for a if you want your research to be effective, it has to be systematic, and it is the only approach from which you can undertake any research work, and each step must follow the other. It means, as I told you, uh, the uh, each steps must be followed in such a way so that there is a very good interrelationship between one step and another step. Okay, so you have to be very systematic. Then come to the ninth point, that is the controlled factors. In real life experience, if we say, in real life experience, there is always more than one factor that affects an outcome of an event. In real life experience also, if we see, there is more than one factor that may affect the outcome of any particular event. In the same way, in research also, various factors may affect the outcome, and some are taken as controlled factors, whereas the others are tested for possible outcome. Therefore, the concept of control means that in exploring causality in relation with two variables, two factors, we set up a study in a way that minimizes the effects of other factors affecting the relationship. Therefore, you have to be very cautious, you have to be very careful while doing your research. Then the 10th point is cyclical. Research is a cyclical process because it starts with a problem and it ends with a problem. So research is always there is scope for refinement. While you are doing your PhD, that time you might have produced something on your thesis, but maybe after 10-20 years your basic ideas, your fundamental assumptions might prove wrong also. So research is always a cyclical process. Then the 11th point, number 11th, is logical. The statement of the research should be logical. It means you have to be very careful while drawing any idea, and you are expected to use induction and deduction, or inductive or deductive method, which can be of great help in your research. Okay, so I will be discussing deductive method, inductive method in coming lectures. So right now, deductive and inductive method, you should always try to focus on that, and logical reasoning should be there in your study. And then this point number 12, that is replicable. Replicable means it allows the results of the research to be verified by replicating the study and thereby building a sound basis for decisions. So this is again one important point of research. Okay, so moving next, now come to the debate. So positivism, and then I will be discussing post-positivism. So what is this positivism? Positivism, that is in Hindi it is called Pratyakshvad. Positivism was coined by the great sociologist Auguste Comte in the 19th century. Auguste Comte was a French philosopher and writer who is credited with the doctrine of positivism. Okay, Auguste Comte is credited with the doctrine of positivism. He is also regarded as the first philosopher of science in modern sense of the term. Auguste Comte is regarded as the first philosopher of science in the modern sense. Auguste Comte is also, as I told you, the founding father of the academic discipline of sociology. Then several other philosophers have used this positivism, like I will explain it what is this positivism. But first, important peoples, important thinkers, philosophers who are related: Francis Bacon, John Locke, in fact the great scientist Isaac Newton, and contemporary thinkers also, they use this positive method, positivism. So uh, Auguste Comte, because he is the founding father of positivism, so these are some of the important books which Auguste Comte has written. Course of Positive Philosophy, written in 1829. Elementary Treatise on Analytic Geometry, written in 1843. The third book is the Philosophical Treatise on Popular Astronomy. Then the Discourse on the Positive Spirit, etc. So, if we see, positivism means any knowledge which is gained through observation. In simple term, if you see what is positivism, so positivism is the knowledge which are gained through observation. It means which are gained through senses and which can be measured, and it should be trustworthy. It means positivism is something which is related to the mathematical and natural sciences. So you may note down these points, because in this video I am not able to, or I will not be able to discuss each point in very detail. So you can note down, and I believe all the points which I have prepared in this PPT is very helpful for the aspirants of NET examination, and I assure you that few questions will be asked from this portion. So positivism, as I told you, science, positivism relies on the following aspects of science. So science, as we all know, is deterministic, as it explains the cause and effect relationships. Science is mechanistic, as researchers develop hypotheses to be proved or disproved via application of scientific research method. Then science uses methods such as selection of sample, measurement analysis, and reaching conclusion about hypothesis. As we know, science deals with empiricism, where it is assessed as objective, as seen or measured. Therefore, science must be value free. So, this positivist philosophy is emphasizing on the scientific analysis of the things, or I can say they have overemphasized the scientific, the mathematical, the quantifiable, the statistical aspects of the things. And this over scienticism is the main challenge to positivism also. So later on, scholars have challenged positivist philosophy, that positivism is focusing much more only on natural sciences, pure sciences, mathematical sciences, etc. And in the social science studies, it may not always be very useful, that all the time it is not possible to come to any conclusion which is very objective and which can be measured mathematically. Okay, so all the things, everything in this universe cannot be calculated mathematically. So this is the drawback to this philosophy of positivism. So these points you may note down. Then uh, criticisms, as I told you, positivism as an epistemology is associated with the following set of disadvantages. First is positivism relies on experience as a valid source of knowledge, and all types of processes can be perceived as certain variation of actions of individuals or relationships between individuals. So some of the important terminology which are used again and again in research, this epistemology that is called Gyan Mimamsa. This is the theoretical framework. This epistemology means it is a theoretical framework for literature and research practice. So very important concept. These four concepts are often used in research. Second is ontology, that is called Satta Mulak. Ontology is the assumptions about the nature of reality and knowledge. It is the assumptions about the nature of reality and knowledge. Then axiology. Even they may ask you this definitional term in MCQ. So please remember these terminology very carefully. Then axiology, that is Mulli Mimamsa. It promotes value systems and ethical principles. Axiology means it promotes value systems and ethical principles. Then the fourth one is teleology. Teleology is something which is related to or which involve the explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than of the cause which they arise. Means it is purposive in nature. So teleology means it is purposive, uddeshyatmak in nature. So this post-positivism is also there. Post-positivism is a meta-theoretical stance that criticizes and which also amends this positivism. Positivists believe that the researcher and the researched person are independent of each other. Therefore, post-positivists accept that theories, background, knowledge, and values of the researcher can influence what is observed. So, in post-positivism, research shifted from reality to critical reality. Research is shifting from reality to critical reality. Okay, so in positivism, focus was on theory verification, and in post-positivism, focus is on falsification. You may read one or two books on this paper so that you will have ideas in much detail. In a short video lecture, that is not possible to explain each and everything in very much detail. So now this last portion, and this man is very important and his book is very famous. So I will just tell you the book name, that is The Structure of Scientific Revolution, which was published in the year 1962, and the main idea, which is the paradigm shift. So UGC NTA may ask who is related to the concept of paradigm shift. So, and who has written the famous book The Structure of Scientific Revolution. So please remember the name of Thomas Kuhn. So you need not to go into very detail. So in coming times, whenever I get time, I will be explaining these things in detail. Right now I just want to convey the basic idea for the aspirants of UGC NET. So please focus on, and best wishes. And if you like the video, you may subscribe, share, and whatever you want. Thank you. Good night. Bye bye.